So I want to start with the trofinetide statement from
Sure.
the European regulators for the treatment of Rett syndrome. Is there anything new? You came out a few weeks ago and said you would challenge this. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, so there's nothing new since we said that. We are putting in writing our official application for re-examination, and that's going in the next few days. And we expect that process, it's governed by a time clock, so it's pretty fixed. And that process will run probably till June. And that's during that time, we have the opportunity to restate our evidence, have another scientific advisory group, and also probably have an oral explanation. So there's a lot more chance to interact with the European Union.
So this drug is approved for use in the U.S. under DAYBUE.
It's approved for use in the U.S. as DAYBUE, also approved in Canada and Israel.
So what's different about the European situation?
Aren't they tougher?
They are definitely tougher in rare disease. We have a pivotal trial which was statistically significant across 2 co-primary endpoints. And the European Union has stated that they don't value the meaningful difference that gives our Rett patients, and they're finding it hard to understand the clinical value of the differentiation that we saw between the endpoints. And so we're having to educate on Rett. It's not a very well understood. It's rare neurological disorder. It affects mainly young girls. There's about 12,000 patients in the EU, 6,000 in the US. So it's not very well understood, even by neurologists. So there's a lot of education that we have to continue to do. And also our patient advocacy voices are quite disparate across the EU, and now with the International Rett Syndrome Foundation helping us as well in terms of understanding what it's like to live with a child with Rett syndrome. All of this is important now to help our re-examination process.
You know, speaking of a process or processes, I am wondering, Catherine, too, I think we think a lot about this administration and what it's like going through a regulatory process. How has it changed? Has it calmed down? Give us some insight, since you guys have to deal with it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, we don't have an active approval process going on right now. We actually just got our DAYBUE Sticks formulation approved by the FDA in December. And actually, our process went really quite smoothly. So as I try to explain to people, we don't deal necessarily with the people at the top of the FDA. We deal with our divisions. And the division leaders and the division staff work really hard all the time to ensure that they are applying the timelines that we agreed to during the PDUFA process. And we have found so far at Acadia that all of those timelines have been stuck to.
Do those individuals stay from administration to administration, or are those different people?
They have tended to, and the people that we deal with are certainly the same people that we've been dealing with for a number of years. So that's really a positive right now.
Are there fewer trials? Are there faster approvals? And I think this gets to, as citizens here of the United States trying to understand, public safety concerns and just wondering, a process that I think many would say was a gold standard globally, has that changed?
No, I don't think so. I think the FDA still applies very high standards of safety and efficacy for our population, and I think the US will continue to be the gold standard. As we see the leadership changing, I think some positives have come out of it. This sort of focus on trying to be less bureaucratic, trying to think about different ways of approaching clinical trials. And so we're very positive about supporting that, but obviously that then needs to be actually put into the guidelines and the rules. So we'll see how that flows down.
What about when it comes to affordability and the focus on affordability? How is that kind of affecting you as a pharmaceutical company? We're also focusing on, certainly the United States, on the pharmacy benefit managers, that level.
Trump RX.
There is that. So just how is any of that affecting some of the business decisions? Because as you say, you guys are developing sometimes a treatment, a drug that is not inexpensive, and it's a smaller pool of patients who will use it.
But there's also a little bit of misunderstanding about that. So DAYBUE, for example, 90% of our patients pay less than $10 per month for their prescription. So there's a lot of misunderstanding around that whole sort of high price situation. But I think, Carol, your point around pressures on affordability for the American patient, that is absolutely top of all of our minds. Even as individuals, right? We all go to the pharmacy as well and see that. And so America is unique in terms of a market in that 50 cents on every dollar spent on medicine goes to middlemen. And we're the only country in the world where
by unique.
Yes, unique
this
and
is not
special.
unique.
Some would argue inefficient, or maybe there are.
Yes, and it's the PBMs. It's also hospitals mark up their drug prices as well. It's a lot of intermediaries that actually don't add to the patient experience at the end at the pharmacy. And we're really trying to work with our various policy groups in in a bipartisan way. I think everybody agrees that it's not great for patients in terms of how we're currently structured. And we're very, very focused on supporting the administration in a bipartisan way to help us sort of get through that.
My daughter got some crayons and Play-Doh at the hospital when she was there a few weeks ago, and I haven't gotten the bill yet. So I don't know. I don't know what it'll be.
Everything will be itemized.
I think it'll be okay.
It will be.
How did we kind of get there? And I know you're from London.
Yes.
And just as you think about different health systems, and everything has pluses and minuses. I get that. It's not apple to apples in terms of comparison, but how did we get this wrong maybe in terms of PBMs? Because everybody thought this was going to be great for patients, for everybody. It was going to be more efficient, and the cost savings would be passed on to consumers.
Well, the idea of a middleman in terms of brokering sort of, larger discounts across sort of payers, I guess at its fundamentals is a good idea. The issue is that the rebates that the pharmaceutical manufacturers give to the PBMs should be passed along to patients, and yet they're not. And so that's the point where we're really trying to sort of unpick the systems that have got us to where we are now, and ensure that those rebates that we do give actually do get to the patients that they were intended for. And that is actually written into the contracts and into the sort of the legislation, and that actually happens.
I have to say, I always find that whole process, like, why is there a rebate? Like, who gets a rebate, and how does it work? It just seems to me so
Well, the idea is you get the coupon, and then you don't use it. So
why don't we just mark down the drug to begin with?
Because then that will be a guarantee of a decline in revenue rather than you actually taking the time to get the coupon and going in and doing it.
Well, the middlemen are so entrenched now in our whole healthcare system, it's really quite hard right now to sort of try and take them out and just get these discounts to the patient at the pharmacy counter.